All of us who work in the world of film acting are still anxious when we're faced with real-life drama, the drum roll, so to speak. There are no retakes tonight. There are no rehearsals to prepare for that singular moment when the envelope is opened. The name inside will certainly change one actor's life, as it changed mine last year. As a messenger, peer, and movie lover, I stand here tonight to tell you 5 nominees the best news of all. You have moved me, moved the Academy, moved the people. Your performances took us somewhere we have never been, somewhere strange and familiar, and we are changed forever by that glimpse, that moment, that intimacy, and that surrender, all of it etched in celluloid. The Academy thanks you, this year's nominees, for best performance by an actor in a leading role.
Ambition, amorality, greed, deviousness, misery, venality, remorse, nobility, generosity, decency, and good old-fashioned cojones. I know these sound like the description of the requirements to be a successful studio head, but in fact, these are the facets of the rainbow of human behavior reflected by the powerful performances of our leading actor nominees.
This year, each of the nominees for leading actor has brought to the big screen some of the most inspired and harrowing work that we've ever seen in this category. In a normal year, any one of these performances would have stood out as the most challenging, imaginative, and ambitious of the year. And so tonight, the Academy has had the difficult task of honoring the finest among equals. The nominees for leading actor in a motion picture are
Kenneth Branagh for Henry V. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise for Born on the 4th of July. Daniel Day-Lewis for My Left Foot. Morgan Freeman for Driving Miss Daisy. Robin Williams for Dead Poets Society.
Bradley Cooper, Silver Linings Playbook. Daniel Day-Lewis, Lincoln. Hugh Jackman, Les Misérables. Joaquin Phoenix, The Master. Denzel Washington, Flight.
And the Oscar goes to...
And the Oscar goes to
Daniel Day-Lewis, and There Will Be Blood.
Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
The second Academy Award and 4th nomination for Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis is the first actor to win 3 Oscars in the lead actor category.
You've just provided me with the makings of one hell of a weekend in Dublin. I shared Christy's life for a while with a remarkable young actor called Hugh O'Connor. But for everyone involved in the film, all our desire to make the film, all the strength that we needed, all the pleasure that we took in making the film came from Christy Brown. When he was alive, he needed very little encouragement to make his voice heard. Now he needs a little more. And I'm truly grateful to you that in honoring me with this award, you're encouraging Christy to carry on making his mark. Thank you very much indeed. That's the closest I'll ever come to getting a knighthood, so thank you.
I really don't know how any of this happened. I do know that I've received so much more than my fair share of good fortune in my life, and I'm so grateful to the Academy for this beautiful honor.
My deepest thanks to the members of the Academy for whacking me with the handsomest bludgeon in town. My son and my partner, H.W. Plainview, were up here with me, the mighty Dylan Frazier. So many people to thank. One amongst them would be Mrs. Plainview down there. I'm looking at this gorgeous thing that you've given me, and I'm thinking back to the first devilish whisper of an idea that came to him and everything since, and it seems to me that this sprang like a golden sapling out of the mad, beautiful head of Paul Thomas Anderson. Enchantingly optimistic, open-minded, and beautiful Rebecca Miller. I hope that all those to whom I owe and to whom I feel the deepest gratitude will forgive me if I say just simply, thank you, Paul. I've been thinking a lot about fathers and sons in the course of this, and I'd like to accept this in the memory of my grandfather, Michael Balkan, my father, Cecil Day-Lewis, and my 3 fine boys, Gabriel, Ronan, and Cashel. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. It's a strange thing because 3 years ago, before we decided to do a straight swap, I had actually been committed to play Margaret Thatcher in and Meryl was Stephen's first choice for Lincoln, and I'd like to see that version. Stephen didn't have to persuade me to play Lincoln, but I had to persuade him that perhaps if I was going to do it, that Lincoln shouldn't be a musical. My fellow nominees, my equals, my betters, I'm so proud to have been included as one amongst you. When we got married 16 years ago, or since we got married 16 years ago, my wife Rebecca has lived with some very strange men. I mean, they were strange as individuals and probably even stranger if taken as a group. But luckily, she's the versatile one in the family, and she's been the perfect companion to all of them. I'd like to thank Kathy Kennedy, our producer, and through you, Kathy, and through you, our mighty team of co-conspirators. At the apex of that human pyramid, there are 3 men to whom I owe this and a great deal more. Tony Kushner, our beloved skipper, Steven Spielberg, and the mysteriously beautiful mind, body, and spirit of Abraham Lincoln. For my mother, thank you so much.
The interesting thing about the script, I think, it seemed to me anyway, that it wasn't a predominant feature, his disability. I was just struck by, more than anything else, by his anger at the way in which he was perceived and misunderstood sometimes, and his desire that the record should be set straight. Yeah. And I felt he was a pioneer, in a way. He was actually charting territory which had never been charted before. And I think my heroes have always been people that have actually ventured into that kind of territory, and he was, and he never let up. He continued to confront people. He confronted his own fears, which takes huge courage, and he confronted other people's fears head on.
Is it more important that the role be interesting or the character be interesting?
I tend really to only work on things that I have a kind of compulsion to do.
But they are so varied.
Yes.
The roles that we've seen you in so far.
Varied. Certainly, they're certainly, the things that most interest me tend to be at some distance from my own life, and they tend to be at some distance from the characters that have interested me before as well.
You were going to be a cabinet maker at one stage, yes.
It's really just a coincidence that I'm not, I think, because during the year after I left school, I was really more active in my pursuit of that. I mean, I tried to find apprenticeships, and I was very fussy. I was always very fussy about who I wanted to work with, and there was one designer craftsman in the country who I thought was extraordinary. And I just waited, and he didn't have room in his workshops, and he couldn't take on any more apprentices. And then in the end, I just thought, oh, I'll try for one theatre school and see what happens. And that, it had been a passion for years, but I'd rather, in my last years at school, I began to think that the theatre profession was rather kind of suspect, and perhaps it is.
Yeah.
And so it was cabinet making, and by sheer coincidence, the two possibilities happened at exactly the same time, and I just decided to go to theatre school.
Do you ever run up a little coffee table now, or a little?
No, I haven't laid my hands on wood since I stopped, and I don't know why. Just because I love doing it so much, I couldn't think of doing it as a hobby.
This morning is the actor Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel shot to fame last year when he co-starred in the highly acclaimed film My Beautiful Laundrette, and his success seems set to continue. Daniel's latest film has already been described as a triumph and a near miracle after its New York opening. It's called A Room with a View, and it's based on the E.M. Forster novel of the same name, and it's got its royal premiere tonight before the Queen Mother. Now, here's a taste of what Her Majesty will be seeing tonight.
I don't know, I have never kissed you.
No, you haven't.
May I now?
Well, of course you may, Cecil. You might perform. I can't run at you, you know. I'm sorry.
It looks a very sensitive sort of film, is it?
Yes, I think it is, yes. I'm not the most sensitive character in it, but I think the film is, yes. It's been directed very sensitively.
Tell us a little bit about the character that you're playing.
Well, my heart bleeds for him when I think about him. He's the sort of person that you imagine you might be in your worst nightmares. Desperately self-conscious and pompous, and he's a bound-up ascetic who can't open his mouth without clearing a room. You know, everything he says is just guaranteed to be offensive.
Now, as an actor, would you rather play a role like that, or would you rather play the dashing, handsome young man?
Well, when I went to meet James Ivory, and I'd read the book, and there were two young men in the... If Cecil can ever be described as a young man, he was born at the age of about 45. But there were two young men, George, who was a sort of, not exactly a straightforward romantic, I mean, disturbed in his own way, but Cecil did appeal to me, the character did appeal to me. I kind of felt for him. And James asked me which character I saw myself as, which was quite an awkward question, because it wasn't like saying which character would you like to play. And I said no one in their right minds would admit to seeing themselves as Cecil Vyse, but anyway, he did. So he asked me to do it.
Do you see any of you, because you must have to have a tremendous empathy with your character,
Yes.
and sympathy as well.
Yes.
Do you see any of your traits in him? Hard to imagine, but...
I hope not. But I mean, there are times when you can. I mean, you can't laugh at him all the time, and Forster allows him his one sort of spark of humanity, a kind of minor redemption at the end. I won't say how, but he's given his finest moment, after which, presumably, at the end of the book, he just sort of sinks into a downward spiral of
You mustn't spoil the
lonely
plot
bachelorhood. But,
too much for us.
No, I mustn't.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the weather in Ireland is not great at the moment. But,
is it freezing cold right now?
It's cold and windy and dark. And,
yeah, true winter. True winter.
It's gloomy. That's the hardest thing. It's gloomy.
True. Okay, so we're back. I think we're back. Okay. When you play a character such as this, is it all-encompassing? Meaning, at the end of the day, are you completely drained from playing something so intense and so dark?
Well, not necessarily invigorated, as well as everybody working on a movie, especially one where you have to tell a lot of story in a short space of time, which it was relatively. You use yourself up. That's what you're there to do. Is you've absorbed, you've taken, you've nourished yourself, filled yourself with the possibility of something, and then when you're shooting, each shooting day, your job is to disgorge that, to use it up, to play it out in the game. And yes, it can be exhausting. Everyone is exhausted, not just the actors. Everybody works to their limits. But there's also some element of self-preservation. You know how long you've got to do that for. I think without even having to, you know, plan for it, you conserve yourself when you can, so that you can give yourself utterly when it's demanded of you. But more than anything else, it's invigorating.
You and Eli's character, Mr. Daniel, said he told me that it got violent. There were days when you were pushing, he was dodging. Yes. Tell me about this.
You do that with someone you really like. That's what I say about it. You've got to really like someone to do that. And I really, really like Paul. I admire him hugely, and I like him so much. So taking a good hiding from him was not a pleasure, but it was no bother to me. And I'm sure he felt the same way.
Do you think Eli and Daniel will cut from the same cloth, even though they're enemies in this film?
Very much so. I don't know if you can read it, but that scene when I'm trying to, you know, get his dad to sign the papers around the lunch table, we recognize each other. I see him for what he is, and I'm pretty sure he knows who I am as well. There's a recognition there, but from my point of view, even though I know that I'm to some extent deceiving them, I'm giving them quail prices for land that's rich with oil. But to my mind, there's nothing more ignoble than spiritual fraudulence, and that's what he's guilty of. So I feel quite a cut above him, I think.
Is Mr. Anderson extremely hands-on when it comes to directing? Does he let you kind of have freedom, or is it?
Hands off, which is the sign of, I think, of probably somebody who's very, very secure in their own creative powers. Hands off. I mean, he's doing what he has to do, and he expects us to do what we have to do. And what he creates for us is a ground upon which we might find those things that we're looking for. There's no guarantee we will, but he creates the ground upon which we might do it.
Do you think this film speaks to all of us on a certain level? It's about greed, less those things that we have in us that we deny.
I hope so. It'd be nice if it spoke to all of us. I mean, it'd be a rash assumption to think it would speak to all of us, but I'd like to believe that if people chose to see the film, there'd be something in it that they felt was, they'd understand something about it. Yes, I would like to feel that was true, yes.
Just my final question. This is quite a journey. For you, what was the most difficult part of this whole process?
Finishing it, probably.
Why?
Because once unleashed, that curiosity which first allows you to entertain even the idea that you might create a whole world, cannot easily be put back to sleep again. So when somebody says it's time to go home now, that seems even more absurd than any other aspect of the work. There's no part of you. You need to stop. If you don't stop, you need somebody to carry you off and lock you in a room, but you don't want to. You don't want to stop. It doesn't seem right to stop doing that.
Speaking of stopping, thank you.
Very much.
I appreciate it.
Now, Lawrence Olivia, in his older years, he made a film called Marathon Man. And he showed up one day, and there's Dustin. Dustin is the quintessential American actor, but also the New York kind of ethnic actor. And he just looks ghastly. And, you know, and so Lawrence looks at him, and I'm like, my dear boy, my God, what happened to you? I feel so bad for you. And Dustin goes, well, you know, I haven't slept for 4 days, and I didn't change my clothes, and I didn't take a shower. Because he said, why not? It's the part. I have to live the part. And Olivier steps back and looks at him and says, my dear boy, why don't you try acting? It's so much easier. Now, Joan Plowright told me that story, so I think it's true.
Now, can I tell you what I feel about that story?
Yes, yeah, I would love to hear that.
And without any disrespect either to Olivier or Joan Plowright, but I think it says more about what Olivier failed to understand about the process of certainly film acting, if you can divide the two, than about Hoffman's process by which he worked. And he could equally well have said that same thing to Montgomery Clift, to James Dean, to Marlon Brando, to Robert De Niro, to Duvall, and so on and so forth. But he's missing the point there. He's just missing the point. And my feeling is probably the greatest film actor of that period of time that came from that place was Charles Laughton. And Charles Laughton had something quite remarkable. I don't know how you would ever describe it, but I think he was probably, in himself as a man, I don't know this for sure, but I think he probably was quite a complicated man. But his generosity as an actor was he fed himself into that work. He fed himself into that work. He didn't stand back from it. He didn't make a beautiful sound. He certainly didn't make a beautiful picture. Yeah. But as an actor, you cannot take your eyes off him.
You developed an appreciation an approach to acting that is what would have been called an American approach, which is that you immerse yourself in who it is and you do the work that you have to do to create that person.
That would have been true probably of most of my contemporaries at theatre school. It was a great school. It was mostly, it was a school that they thought they were preparing us for a life in the theatre. But there's no difference. The work is the same. It's the same work that you do. And I had a truly remarkable teacher there who passed away a few years ago, called Rudy Shelley, who was an Eastern European Jew who'd been a refugee and began his life as a dancer, but had developed, I hate the word system, a way of working, which was largely based on Stanislavski. I think probably very few people are able to teach Stanislavski in a way that it's comprehensible. But Rudy was one of them. And Stanislavski, of course, is the forefather of the method, and that's probably where the connection is. And, you know, so the combination of that work with Stanislavski and also the fact that we were all looking at Mean Streets.
Yes.
And we all saw Taxi Driver 6 times the first week it came out. And we were all looking at those, you know, the wonderful films that had... that I mentioned, you know, Clift particularly for me was somebody I was fascinated by, and Brando, of course, who was the god of all of them. R.I.P.
Yeah.
The Italian in you. I see the sexual revolution in every frame.
What is the sexual revolution?
That we can talk about later.
Daniel Day-Lewis is surrounded by a who's who of women in the movie 9, which was released Christmas weekend. The film has been somewhat disappointing at the box office, but it provides rare glimpses into some other talents of some of the actors in the movie. He talked about the singing involved in the movie and being nervous about it.
Well, sing. The dancing, I was excused the dancing, which saved us all from that. The singing was something we were all terribly anxious about. One or two of the girls, obviously Marion, knew what it was like to do that, and Nicole, Fergie, had a bit of experience. Kate, I think, too, probably, but nonetheless, we were all very nervous about it. And yet, there is something there, the opportunity to express something through music, to try and contribute something to a story, to a scene, through music, rather than the spoken word. The heightened quality of music is a special thing, and so we were glad to work at it, yeah.
It stars Kate Hudson, Sophia Loren, Marilyn Cotillard, Penelope Cruz, and Judi Dench, among others.